Welcome on into Bitcoin and Tech Wealth Edge. I'm your host at Hodler Ranch. Thanks for joining today. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin treasury companies and the also infamous metric known as mNAV. Many of you may know what mNAV is, and some of you might not. So let's jump in and talk about that first, so everybody knows exactly what that means. So the mNAV for a company is just simply a metric that's used to determine how much a company's stock market value or their market cap compares to the value of their Bitcoin holdings. So for the formula, the mathematical formula, it's a simple calculation. It's just mNAV equals market capitalization. So if their market cap is $1 billion, and they hold, and then the value of the Bitcoin holdings is $1 billion, you would just take $1 billion divided by $1 billion, and that would give you 1. Okay? So an ETF, like IBIT, trades at a 1-to-1. However, these Bitcoin treasury companies trade at a premium, and as you're going to find out, some trade at a discount. Most of them trade above that 1, and a few trade below the 1. So why is that? Well, I actually I'm putting out a tweet here because I heard a lot of people talking about, there's been a lot of frustration, I think, from a lack of understanding on people's parts. And if you got in at a higher amount on MicroStrategy, I want you to stay with me because I think we can find some value together on some other Bitcoin treasury stocks that may be overlooked by the market currently. So just as a spoiler alert, you can see that Bitcoin Standard Treasury Company, SQNS, Columbus Circle, SMLR, all trading under an mNAV of 1. All right. And again, just as a reminder, some of these companies have a dashboard. Like Metaplanet's is fancy, it's bells and whistles. I love it. It's great. But at the end of the day, we're here to look for value, and anyway, there's their mNAV of 2. So you say, is that good or bad? Well, that depends. Let's get into the spreadsheet we have here, and let's go ahead and so this is sorted right now by Bitcoin held on balance sheet. So again, we know strategy is the largest. We just had a new company, Bullish, come in, which is BLSH is the ticker. They jumped out the gate with 24,000 Bitcoin just recently. We come down here, we see the pie, right? What it looks like. Again, as a reminder, strategy has, MSTR has the lion's share of it. They've got 65% of the market. Now, that is starting to shrink. That was closer to 70% when I started doing these broadcasts a couple of weeks ago, or about a month ago now, I guess. We see Mara. We see some other ones popping in here now. So, again, strategy still has by far the most. They also have what we would call the best moat. So, I've got a new category here in column Z. This is the moat strength index. And so, by the way, I have explanations on the explanations tab at the bottom. You can go and you can see what an mNAV is. You can see what the moat is. And I took that from the traditional finance world. It's 1 to 10, 10 being the strongest. It's adapted from based on the principles from investing in hidden monopolies. So it basically is a way to express loyalty, but we're doing this with a Bitcoin bent, right? So the size, commitment barriers, and function psychology of all of the Bitcoin treasury company, how much of a competitive edge or moat do they have? And so the only one I have ranked as a 10 would be MicroStrategy. So strategy's at the top just because they've got so many levers. Levers are ways to buy Bitcoin. They've got more ways to accumulate Bitcoin, especially through preferred stock. So again, when I'm looking for value in the market, I'm looking for a company that's got, I want them to ideally have 5 levers, 5 different ways to buy Bitcoin. Because if you don't have that, it makes it tough. Some companies are working towards that, and I still may have them as a buy based on, as we'll find out here, their low mNAV. But I'm looking for that. I'm looking for $1 billion or more. looking for proven track record, and I'm looking for that mNAV that I can find that makes sense. So I'm going to quickly sort this the opposite way of highest to lowest, just so you can get an idea. Why is Tesla at the top? It's simply because, again, their market cap is $1 trillion. And when you have $1 trillion market cap and you hold relatively low amount of Bitcoin compared to that market cap, then you're going to have this number be skewed a lot. So you'd say, well, 783, that's not a good mNAV, is it? And I would say, well, no, it's not a good mNAV, but that's why we look at all the data. We're aggregating all of it here. It's the only place I know on the internet that's taking all the different data, from sentiment to number of X followers that someone has, to are they going to dilute your shares, to do they have a dashboard, are they transparent, who's running the show, can you trust them? Tesla, because this is the Bitcoin and tech wealth edge, this is where the tech comes in with their robotaxi AI, their Optimus Tesla bots coming soon. Like, there's a lot of good things going there. So they are, just by definition, they're not a pure play Bitcoin treasury company. However, they are one of the largest holders of Bitcoin in the world, at over 11,000 Bitcoin on balance sheet. Okay, so fair enough. So that's the higher mNAV. We start to come down into some of these names you may have seen and heard get a lot of hype recently. One of those being the blockchain group. And the blockchain group is doing a nice job. They've got a lot of things going for them. But when I'm looking at the mNAV, I think we can do better when it comes to value that's out there. That 3.06 is still high. Remember what happened to Metaplan. When it started out, it went to 6, 7 mNAV and then came down quickly. Now they're sitting at right around a 2, which is probably, based on their size and scope and what they're doing and having the Japanese market, I think the 2 is okay. I think that's probably a floor for them. It may go a little lower. I do think that the floor for MicroStrategy is probably around a 1.5. So we're basically there. You know, we closed today, August 15th, 2025, at around $366. Look, there's been a lot of comments online. People are frustrated, and I get it. They're frustrated with Saylor. First he was hitting the ATM too much, and now he doesn't have the ATM, and he's showing his cards, and he can do no right to some people. But I would just tell everybody, let's take a breath. Let's chill on that. Yes, it's compressing. The mNAV's compressing a bit. I do think we're at that nice support where we're going to bounce off here strongly, and particularly when we see Bitcoin go to the next level up, that next leg up, I expect the strategy mNAV to expand as well. However, it's compressed. People are getting very antsy, and they're jumping ship. If you haven't jumped ship, I would tell you don't jump ship. And if you haven't bought yet, now's a good time to buy. And if you bought above $400, I'm sorry, but this is, again, I've been buying this and recommending it since it was a $30 stock. So I've been on board with their thesis and love what they're doing. And it's my ride or die. Like, I love strategy. It's my largest holding. But the market is saying, okay, well, we're going to bring that mNAV down right now. It's been compressed. So let's talk about the opposite. Let's go ahead and look for the value now that we've talked about the high mNAVs. Let's talk about the low mNAVs. So this may surprise you. And as far as I know, there's nobody on the internet that's doing this, that has all this data and is putting out. It's easy to come in here and you're able to just pull mNAV, buy mNAV, and I can say, oh, well, are there any companies trading in under 1? And as we've identified earlier, yes, there are. We have SMLR Scientific, which I love. They have 4 levers. They're working towards getting that 5th lever. They're going to be adding a ton of Bitcoin. I do have them as a buy. I mean, you're basically getting their medical tech business for free, right? Actually, and they're trading at less than the Bitcoin that they have on their balance sheet. So they have over 5,000 Bitcoin, valued at nearly $600 million. It won't be long before that's $1 billion, and they're going to continue to add. Even if they never added, you're still getting all that for less than what the value of the Bitcoin is. So again, when we looked at strategy at a 1.5 versus some of these, there's some value here. Columbus Circle, that's a SPAC deal. That's trading right around its par. I'll tell you another one I like, though, is SQNS. SQNS is a French company, and they're being advised by Swan and Ben Workman. And you know Ben and team are going to do an outstanding job with this. They're going to be transparent. They're going to get that fifth lever. They're going to come up with ways to add Bitcoin, and they're going to add a lot of Bitcoin. And right now, you get them for 95 cents on the dollar of Bitcoin they own. And they already jumped out. Again, they didn't have Bitcoin last year. So January 1st comes, they don't have Bitcoin. Now they're adding Bitcoin. They're adding 14 Bitcoin a day, right? There's only 450 Bitcoin added to the network per day right now in this current halving cycle. So the supply's coming in slow. The demand is obviously higher than that if you looked at everybody that's buying every day. Strategy's buying up twice the amount of Bitcoin that's coming into the system every day. They're buying up twice the amount that's being entered into the system. And we wonder why that's a 10, right? So again, I had that as a hold. I would probably flip that to a buy because I think that by this time in the next week or week after, you're going to see Strategy having bottomed and then moving back up and that mNAV expanding again. But until that happens, there's some good companies. Empery Digital, which does stuff with electric vehicles. Again, a pretty solid underlying business, and they're barely trading above a 1, right? So there are other things out there. I just want you to be aware of that, to know that there's opportunities out there. Not financial advice, interesting, but there are a lot of opportunities out there where you don't have to pay it. In fact, you're getting a discount. So I don't know about you, but I like getting discounts. I like buying Bitcoin for less than its value. Plus, you have the added bonus, the icing on the cake, if you will, of these companies being able to have their daily cash flows, their profitability. I'd encourage you to join their quarterly earnings calls. I do, to follow what the story is behind this. But especially with the companies that have a business, they're not just a blank check like a Columbus Circle, and the Bitcoin Standard. But like SQNS again, SMLR, Empery. If you haven't looked into those three, I'd start there. Start there, and I think you might find some value there, because the market, again, we want to go where the market's going, not where it's at. And again, the market's chased some of these other ones that are in the 3s and 4s, right? So I'm not really that interested. It's not that I don't like these companies. I like all these companies. It's all good for Bitcoin, and I'm really excited to see what they're doing. However, we can get value. Let's go get some value. Let's go get those mNAVs that are close to 1, or if not, even below it. Because I don't think this is going to stay that way forever. The market's going to figure this out eventually. So front run them. Go make some money. Thanks for joining. Till next time. See ya.